The snow-covered city stood frozen, like an Olympic runner waiting for the starting gun. The trees, locked in ice, stayed silent, not a creak, not even a twitch from a single branch. The sun was dipping low, ready to vanish behind the giant skyscrapers any second now. Oh, those towering beasts, chained by the frost, didn't even glance down at the ground. Too busy with their lofty business, I guess. Even the asphalt, always dull and gray, looked grumpier than usual today. Only the muffled hum of the river added a tiny spark of life to the stiff, icy kingdom. Without much thought, I headed toward it. Cold, really cold. It felt like a solid -10, maybe even 15, though that's just a guess. Feelings can trick you sometimes. Still, no one could deny the harsh winter vibe out here. Not a cloud in the sky either. But that made sense. Who'd want to hang around outside in this chill? Even the clouds got it. They're not dumb. Sure, science could explain it. Too cold for the water to evaporate and turn into clouds. But I refuse to buy that. I didn't like science. Never did. And I paid plenty for it. Take school, for example. Physics class especially. Everyone else was so smart, rattling off formulas, while I'd stand at the board and hear Zach, the stuck-up straight-A kid at the front desk, snicker behind me. Kepler, stop holding the class back. That memory hit me hard, and I shook my half-frozen hands in annoyance. Zach never joined in on anything fun, never let anyone copy his notes. A total bore. Me? I might actually be more useful than him in my own way. Lost in my head, I didn't notice the traffic light ahead, screaming with its red glare that now wasn't the time to cross. I stepped forward anyway, still fuming about Zach, when a man next to me yanked me back by the arm. "Hey, watch where you're going," he barked. I blinked, startled out of my thoughts, and stared at him. Yeah, did you want something? Pay attention to the road, dreamer. What? I said, watch the road. Oh, right, sure. I didn't feel like arguing and dropped my eyes to my scuffed winter boots. The man muttered something like, "Kids these days, not even a thank you," as he crossed on the green light. A second later, I shuffled after him in the same direction. Past the crossing was the park. I headed straight for my bench. 100 meters later, there it was, right in front of the church, my favorite spot. I pulled the scarf off my neck, folded it in half, and laid it on the bench's edge. Looking around, the square was empty. No surprise there. Who'd be crazy enough to sit out here right before Christmas? Nah, people had better things to do, standing in endless lines with a last-minute shoppers, fighting over the final jar of caviar, or rushing through stores for useless gifts to people we want to forget anyway. Way more important, right? Well, enough about that. To shake off my thoughts, I started staring at the trees around me and smiled. A memory popped up. A summer walk, warm and bright. Yeah, summer's nice, no denying that. But winter's got its own charm. Sure, summer's full of life everywhere you look, but there's no peace, no quiet. Some people need that, even in July, and it's tough to find. Everyone's outside, playing soccer, riding bikes, or just soaking up the sun on the grass. But in winter, most people hate the weather and stay in. No one wants to step into this gray world. Right now, I'm sitting in a square that would be swarming with people in summer, and it's just me, not a soul around. So yeah, winter's got its perks, even if they're not obvious. Footsteps snapped me out of it. Soft, slow ones coming from behind. I turned fast, but no one was there. I scanned the sides. Nothing. The sound kept getting closer. Fine, I would wait. Then it shifted left and faded off somewhere. A few seconds later, it stopped. I glanced where it last heard it. Another bench sat there, just like mine. Weird, okay. Back to the quiet. 5 minutes passed, and those steps started again, heading right for me this time. They stopped, really close. And then the quiet voice said, "Mind if I sit?" Most people would have freaked out at a question from thin air, but I just said, sure, go ahead. Curiosity got me, so I turned my head. 1/2 meter away, at neck height, two faint red lights glowed, like eyes, trembling slightly, wrapped in a hazy shimmer that didn't belong here. The thing noticed me looking and turned its lights toward me. I flinched but didn't move. We stared at each other for a couple of seconds. Then it spoke again, soft and heavy, with some deep sadness. "Bet you don't see this every day, huh?" I steadied myself and answered, "Yeah, you're right about that. A girl then?" "Spot on," it said, the lights tilting left for a second. "I'm a girl." "Got it." I paused, thinking, so why me? Why show up here? More of a coincidence than anything planned. I grinned wide. "You know, I've always believed in stuff like you." "Yeah?" Its voice hinted a smile. "Glad I could back up your belief with something real. If you think I'm real, that is." "Oh, you're real enough to me." We went quiet after that. I didn't push it. She, or it, didn't seem like she was from this world. Maybe she came here to rest, just like me. As if she had heard that thought, she said, "It's nice here in your park. Calm, peaceful, smack in the city, but it feels far from all the noise." "Right? It's my go-to spot to unwind." "Good pick." She turned her lights to me sharply. "Why aren't you scared?" "Of what?" "Me? Why would I be?" Fair point. A noise cut her off. Something crashing behind us. I turned and saw a drunk guy sprawled by a trash can, a bottle in his hand. I stepped toward him to help, then stopped. He glared up at me, his cloudy eyes narrowing, and started muttering angrily. I didn't like his vibe and turned to leave, but before I took 2 steps, everything went soft and black. My whole body ached when I came to consciousness. My head throbbed, and the back of my skull stung bad. I reached up and felt tiny sharp bits, glass maybe, and a patch of dried blood. Yeah, that explained it. I opened my eyes and yelped. Those red lights hovered over me, brighter now, the haze gone. They didn't budge as I sat up slowly, passing right through them. Made sense, they weren't solid. No point dusting myself off, so I stumbled to the bench and sat down. The lights followed, settling where they had been before. "Shouldn't have stepped in," she said. "What?" I glanced over and saw the drunk guy lying on the grass. Too still. "I shouldn't have messed with it," she repeated, sounding annoyed. "Did you, do that?" "Let's not talk about it." "Fine by me." I leaned back as far as the bench allowed and shut my eyes, trying to clear my head. It didn't work. Questions buzzed like flies in my aching skull. But then she spoke again. Guess it's time for me to go." "You're done resting here?" "Pretty much. Even got to watch something interesting happen." Interesting, that was nothing fun, I grumbled. Okay, next time it will be better. Deal? Her words threw me off completely. What? Next time when? You'll see when the time comes. But can you just tell me now? No answer. Then something tiny landed on my nose, light as nothing. A snowflake. I looked up and the red lights were gone, but on the bench where she had been, a faint scratch marked the wood, like two little dots, side by side. I stared at it, my head still pounding, wondering if I had imagined her. But those marks, they were real, and somehow I knew she would be back.